Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow. And I Want to Grow is all about that. It's about our growth, right? We all want to grow, but with a difference. Our guest wants other people to grow. And with our guest today, he is exceptional. He's come all the way from India. He's in Qatar right now for different guests, different reasons. But please, Shubham, tell us all about yourself and tell us why you're here.
Sure. So I run a company in India called Recro. We essentially help Indian developers and talent to sort of get access to great opportunities. We work with unicorn startups in India. We work with global capability centers, which are setting up bases in Bangalore. And we sort of try to provide them with great talent, hidden gems that are there in India. And we have a lot of developers and people and talent in India.
How many?
So India is one of the largest developer markets in the world. I think that number goes up around 5 million plus. In terms of when we talk about what Recro is doing, so we're doing a small part of it. We have somewhere close to 1,000 developers till date. Currently have around 500 people plus.
How old are you?
I'm currently 34.
Whoa. You look so young, and what you've achieved is just incredible. Bangalore, I don't know if anybody knows, but Bangalore is probably one of the hottest for technology in India, right?
Yes, it is. You have some of the biggest names there. You have Amazon, you have Flipkart, you have Swiggy, you have all major Uber. Everyone has a engineering center in Bangalore.
How do you compete? You must be doing extremely well.
So essentially we look at ourselves as someone who opens the gateway to these larger companies. So we sort of don't compete, we enable sort of these companies. So our job is sort of to find the best talent and sort of ensure that they are up to the level that they can match these companies and sort of work with them and sort of accelerate their lives and transform their lives as well as companies.
And let's go back in your story. Let's go back to how did you choose technology? What was your evolution? What did you study at college in?
Yeah, I did my computer science in 2012. Obviously in India you decide after you complete your engineering what you want to do. So obviously technologies was something that always excited me a lot. And I was always someone who would sort of get to know about what's the new things that's getting launched, what's the new tech that's coming into the market, and that always excited me. Somehow I got hired as a Java developer in my last year and sort of worked there for around 1.5 years roughly. Part of this journey also involved me in the second year working as a business analyst for a consulting firm. So the exposures to sort of both programming as well as being on the business side of things sort of intrigued that if we combine both of them, then this could be super powerful and super impactful. And that was my past. And then sort of I got this opportunity to sort of get started. And one gap I realized at that time was that we had these traditional services companies in India, right? Which were doing good. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but the new revolution that came in India came roughly around 2012 and 2013. And these were product companies, startups like Flipkart, and these were really aspirational companies at that point of time. So the talent that was there in India was sort of needing that kind of exposure to work with, wanted to work with some great companies where they can sort of utilize their full potential, right? If you're just sort of doing mundane, regular tasks, you're not sort of living to your fullest. And for a developer, the biggest kick that he gets is when he works at scale, when he works at complexity, when he's doing problem solving, and that's what excites him. So I realized a lot of brilliant minds in my team were sort of not doing some really heroic works, and they were sort of internally not satisfied. And I thought if we can sort of match people's competency, their aspirations to the right kind of opportunities, then there is magic. And all of these three, like competency, aspiration, and opportunity, have to be at click at the same time. You cannot have a lower competency or a great aspiration and a great opportunity will not work. So all three variables in this equation have to work.
But you must have been really young then.
Yeah, I was 23, 24, yeah.
But the thing with it is, who was giving you advice at that stage? Was it just what you were feeling, or were you talking with your parents?
So I was working in this ID consulting company, and sort of you feel that and you observe, right? and you try to understand. And myself was not satisfied with my job at that time, right? So I could feel disgruntled. Even I was slogging more than others. But since I was not doing what I really love, and I was not using or playing to my strengths, I was I didn't want to be a mediocre in life. And that's where I said, okay, let me see what if I can do, if I can play to my strengths. And as soon as I got some really good things moving in my direction, and I sort of double on that.
But wasn't that a scary time, knowing that you were making the right
nothing
choice?
to lose. I think when you're early, it's easier.
Nothing to lose.
I think there's nothing to lose, right? So you're not married, you don't have responsibilities. 23, 24 years old, you can do whatever you want. What's the worst case scenario? You'll fail, and you would have gained so much of experience that the corporate world would always be there to take you back with a much improved version, right? And so there was nothing to lose, to be very frank, and sort of jumped in.
And what was that journey like in the early days?
It was fun, I would say, because to the external world, it seemed struggle. Even for the first 6 years, I didn't draw any salary for, probably just draw meager, yes. Roughly 6 or 5 years, I would say, probably. But the point here is for the external world, it seems, because when your friends and your colleagues are sort of doing it, but the person who's in the game sorts of enjoys it a lot, and for them it's a thrill that you get, right, every morning, and you're sort of addicted to that thrill. So yeah, for me it wasn't there. External world might look at it from that perspective, but for the person who's sort of enjoying the game, I would sort of do it all over again also if needed, because at the end of the day you're enjoying what you're doing, and that's more critical than sort of.
And how important was it? And I don't want to be cliched with this podcast, but how important, you said that you had other individuals that wanted to go on this journey with you. How important was that to have the right team and have the right people around you?
So yeah, a lot of people do say that you need to have the right team. The team decides, and it is true. I definitely believe that. But sometimes when you're starting up, you don't have the team.
Yeah,
you are the team, right? So sometimes you have to take the first plunge, because unless you have done some sort of success, good people won't join you on day one. And at 23 years of age, you don't know who is good, and why would someone good join you, right? Right. So at that stage, you have to sort of go through that grind, go through that grill, sort of do that, and then you would obviously be able to attract a very strong team. And you eventually, to scale, you need a team, right? You can't do it alone, and it has to be driven through the team. But on day one, you can't expect the team to be there. It's not that I'll get a team and then I'll start. You get things moving at yourself, and then you gradually build your team. And that's my perspective. And obviously, then you will get the best teams. Yeah. But 0 to 1, sometimes even I would say 0 to 0.5 or 0 to some sort of has to be done by the founder himself.
Yeah, and scaling, was that tough to try to do because you're pushing your boundaries constantly?
Scaling, we are still in that phase because we think we haven't scaled. we are, and it's a challenge because scaling is not just about team, it's about technology, it's about unlearning a lot of stuff that you have done. And at least in businesses like ours, it's super tough. A lot of people dynamics, right, come into the picture as you scale, which a lot of people don't sort of factor in. But yeah, scaling is one of the most important. Otherwise, what's the point if you're just serving 10 people in the world, right? So what's the point of doing that, right? So you want to maximize your impact. You want to maximize the purpose for which you build this company. And scale is the only way you can maximize that. There's a lot of literature around scale, but you've got to just apply that and hit and run and sort of hit and trial, I would say. And do with it. And so you learn from your experiences. There's no golden book that you read and you can scale. But you have to go through the hard journey.
And now you've got so many people working with you.
Yes.
Phenomenal. It's like, what are those successes? What are those benchmarks that you've seen that you can look back and pinpoint those things to look up and say, oh God, that was brilliant?
So if I have to reflect back on my journey, and I talked about this incident in a recent interview as well. So there was an incident when there was a podcast which was being hosted, because we do a lot of podcasts every week, which sort of builds a learning mechanism for our target audience and our sort of customers and which candidates, right? So there was one of the podcasts which was being hosted by our ex-developers, and I was just attending this as an audience. And she said at the opening line, whatever I am today in life is because of Recro. And that was heartening to hear because you have actually impacted someone and someone values that, and that is coming out organically. So that was the impact, that when you see people sort of, you have been able to put some sort of impact in their lives and help them sort of reach higher and hit higher in life. And that's the biggest kick that you get.
Yeah.
And when you reflect back and you see, okay, we have probably affected around 1,000 lives for better. That's a satisfying feeling.
Incredible. Do you ever kind of, because people look up and they say on Monday when I go into work, you must be skipping into work, not dreading it, you know, when some people on a Monday, they're going, oh, I don't want to go to work today. It must be a continual rewarding.
Mondays are exciting. They're just like any other day. You just enjoy. Like Mondays, there's an urge to do more. Like, we'll get this done. We'll focus it up. We have had a break. We've had a break. The body is refreshed. The mind is refreshed. Now let's do this. So the energy level is on the next side on Mondays.
And what's it like in your offices when you've got everybody in? What's the atmosphere like?
Yeah. So we have gone to a hybrid kind of a model. So I obviously would love that everybody is there in the office, but again, you have to take care of people's needs and we sort of try to accommodate to whatever level we can. But yeah, whenever people are there, the atmosphere has to be electric. It has to be very higher in energy, get things moving. And that's what we stand for as a company, right? Get things moving, transform lives, and sort of make things happen.
When you say transform lives and you say you've got 1,000 people and you've helped transform their lives, you're doing a lot for your clients too. You're dealing with, I don't know how many unicorns right now. How many unicorns you're dealing with?
Close to 10 to 15 unicorns we have worked and we are working actively right now in India. We work with them on various engineering aspects.
Yeah. And you're heavily involved in the startup ecosystem too. Because that's what I like about you is you've got all these massive clients, but you're also being pulled back in, or not pulled back in, you're choosing to go back into those young startups, help them to become unicorns.
Right. So obviously, see, we ourselves were a startup, right, at one point of time, and right now are also, we don't classify ourselves. We have not figured it out, I'll say. We're still figuring it out. And so it's important. So whatever knowledge we have, to our extent, we try to share that, and we sort of do that through communities. We work actively with talent communities in India. We work actively with engineering communities in India, developer communities. We have our own community called Rebase. Then we are also right now just starting up a founders network where we sort of try to help companies in India and ourselves as well. How do we sort of address the US market? So we have taken a very community driven approach where we work with these multiple communities from the product side, community side, talent side, developer side, and sort of try to give back to whatever level we can, whatever we have learned in whatever form of, be it effort or knowledge or resources.
Yeah. Who's those, you've probably got many startups, but who are those startups that you're working with right now that impress you so much?
So one of the startup in India is Zepto. They have sort of brought down the delivery times to 10 minutes, and sort of that's one of the and these are guys who have just started from college and sort of really inspirational way they have scaled, and they have completely, and now they're taking on the big guys like Amazon and Flipkart, right? With because now they're adding different layers to this 10 what can be delivered in 10 minutes. So the whole notion was very against them when I look back and look at this segment, right? Like nobody needed a 10-minute delivery. That was the norm. But now if you see everything, how you can use your data to sort of drive inside and then completely turn around an industry and make the other incumbents come to terms with the new reality is something that really like what these guys are building.
These guys have got no fear, have they?
They haven't.
Unbelievable. And we were talking, I was talking to somebody today and we were saying about the youngsters, the young, it's like we have fear. In my age, we have fear, we have concerns. But these guys, they look at an idea and they just say, let's work it out.
I mean, that's what happens with every generation so So earlier you like the Maslow's hierarchy, right? So you the earlier generations took care of your survival, and then you go higher up in the chain, and then self-actualization will eventually come. But right now we're in a phase where sort of when you see these guys and these companies, sort of they're not fighting for survival in India now, at least, right? They come with that mindset, they want to sort of do that. So and the whole notion here, if you see, like now India is sort of transformed from just building services, right? So a lot of companies are doing products, amazing products. We're not doing that right now, but the companies really admire them because they pick up a problem, and they're very India specific problems that they're able to understand and sort of address that. So the ecosystem has sort of grown by leaps and bounds, if you see how it is. I'm a very small actor in that. I'm very small, minuscule.
But you say that it's phenomenal what you've achieved. It's kind of in a very competitive marketplace. It's like everybody says to me, Bangalore is the hub for technology. You've got to be good to be able to compete in that environment.
So I sort of always love traditional red ocean markets, right? Because the problem with red oceans, or as you say, very competitive, very crowded spaces is nobody's looking into. So there's a norm that gets created, and then everybody's just doing that. And when you get into a red ocean, you already know the market is there, because that's why it's a red ocean, right? So at least your one variable is sorted, which you know that, okay, the market is there. And then the only part is left is to identify the gaps that the current players are not solving. If you can identify that, rather than creating a new market, which is a harder play, because you have to change behavior, you have to do a lot of other stuff, which is a much harder problem. Here, you know, the behavior is already sorted. People are already buying stuff, right? Just that they need the right kind of their pains or to be addressed. So if you can sort of identify those pains in a crowded market, you can sort of win.
Yeah, and
build obviously for those pains, right? So
okay, you talk about pain, okay, yeah. and again, all these things coming into my mind is you talk about pain. You must have had some pain over the years.
Obviously, a lot of pain.
What did you do? And this is for the startups out there right now. Is what did you do? What did you go to when you had those pains? What was it? Was it a person? Was it somebody? Was there certain things that you had to do to overcome it?
So pain, I think, is an essential part of a founder's journey. And sort of you build resilience. If you don't face pain, you won't be able to sort of sustain it over a long period of time. And pain comes in different forms. And I believe the level of pain, endurance, increases with time. So what might have looked at as a pain to me 8 years back might look like a normal routine task for me now, right? And will not inflict that amount of pain. But yeah, something that is pain for me right now will not be the next 2 or 3 years. I'll give you examples. Sometimes your clients go berserk. Sometimes the market goes down. You have to lay off people, right? So all of this, over a period of time, it's like a muscle, right? That gets built. Right, and you build that over, and there is no shortcut to it that, okay, you eat a steroid and you sort of can build a muscle in a day. You have to sort of go through the grind and sort of experience that yourself through multiple angles, and you gradually build that muscle over a period of time. And that's why it's good if you start early, because your muscle is getting built early in life.
You help build startups on numerous occasions.
And one more thing you mentioned about pain. Sorry to interrupt you again. One thing that as a tool that I've used sort of to keep my mind, because it's all mind game, right, is meditation. I meditate daily for around 45 minutes to an hour. I break that down to around 30 minutes. But I do that daily, more often or not. So
it's not easy though, meditation.
So if you get into a routine, it is. Ultimately, it's all about habits, how you build them. So once you start doing it, then it becomes autopilot. But initially, that is there.
Okay, so we're talking about meditation. Do you have you got somebody? Do you just listen to music, or do you got somebody to talk you into that meditation? How have you got it now?
So actually, I was sort of in my college days and sort of during the initial stint of my job, right? I was not sort of satisfied with life and sort of still trying to figure out like how to just keep this mind. And I'm someone who has sort of had very fickle-mindedness. So I wanted to calm this thing down and sort of was desperately looking for a solution. I got associated with an organization in Bangalore which sort of has a community around it as well. And they have this something called Kriya, which is a part of meditation, right? You do that for 30 minutes, 20 minutes every day. Because the community is there and you have these follow-ups, so you sort of gets you back even if the routine goes up and down. But you sometimes, if you leave it to one personal will, it becomes difficult to sort of maintain that track. But if the community, that's where we understood the value of community, because community sort of gets you back on the track.
Yeah.
So that's how it has helped me to sort of build a routine
I think
around
meditation is. I think it's so undervalued.
it. It's so undervalued.
Because you don't. If I said meditation to somebody that had no experience in it whatsoever, it's just so difficult to even comprehend. But once you do get the value of it, and once you do kind of utilize, because as I said, sometimes I remember in the early days with my meditation, I'd have to have somebody talk me in. So you would listen to, and then you would talk your way in, and it would be really helpful. But now you could do meditation anywhere. You have
apps and everything. But the whole point is you don't sort of look at thoughtlessness on day one, right? You sort of look at, I'm just able to accept my thoughts as they are.
Yeah.
So that these thoughts don't then play around with your emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So somehow you can just start being more accepting of them.
Yeah. And so with this whole thing, it helps you with running your business. You're working with so many different startups, and you're kind of helping them develop and helping them to go on that journey. How powerful is that in your day?
It is, because end of the day, startups are a collection of people, is what I believe. And end of the day, we are trying to sort of empower people through this, and so that they can achieve their full potential. That's what we stand for. And that's a purpose, right? And we've written down the purpose very strongly, and the entire team believes in that. So working towards your purpose is the most satisfying thing that one can, and not everyone is able to realize there in their life, what's my purpose, right? And if you have that clear, sorted, you get a lot of energy doing that every day in, day out. And it's when you see your purpose getting fulfilled, and that obviously sort of impacting people, impacting organizations, impacting lives across, it gives you a very satisfying feeling at the end of the day. You can sleep well.
Yeah. And when you're choosing these startups, when you're choosing these people to work with, what are those things that you're looking for with these operations?
So as I told you, right, so there's an equation when we talk about it's competency, aspirations, and opportunities, right? All three has to be clicking on the same thing. When you say competency, these are your two sets of competency. You further break that down. One is your hard skills. Obviously, that in engineering, it's very important that your hard skills are in shape. The second is your character skills, or as we call soft skills, right? Is how the behavior, because the DNA of a person working in a startup or getting into this plunge has to be very different from someone who's looking for a comfy 9-to-5 kind of job, right? So is that attitude there or not? Is he hungry for that learning or not, right? Is he ready to put in extra hours? I'm not saying that, but at certain point of life, you sort of put in those extra hours as well. I'm not saying just put this every time. It has to be continuous, but sometimes you need to do that to sort of take your level up. Right, so how much hunger the person has, how much curiosity the person has, and how much that hunger is there to sort of grow, as we call it, right? Your podcast. So that is some of the character skills that we look at in terms of the person, and then also in terms of, as you said, the hard skills are there. And thirdly, we look at the aspirations. Where does this guy want to be? Why he wants to sort of get into this company? What is his end goal in life? So if you understand those parameters, you're able to then sort of do a good job at getting the right opportunities for them.
What's the when those people have walked into your office and they've achieved a great deal? What's that feeling like? And how have you seen some of these startups grow?
So a lot of these startups have sort of grown. Like, so when we started working with some of the companies, they were seed stage or Series A. Some of them have become unicorns now. But obviously I can't say that it is because of Recro that they have become big, because obviously
not, but you've been part of that team.
It's good to be a part of the ecosystem where you see them. But because we play a very small role in the entire journey, right? It's all theirs. But we do, we get come on podcasts like these.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So obviously the network effects do kick in, because a lot of senior people in the industry that know you, then these guys also move in different companies, and it's all network that gets built in, and network effects do come into the picture. A lot of times, like, so So we don't need to spend a lot on the marketing and stuff. Like a lot of time it's word of mouth that works for you.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
What's that like when you hear somebody being very praising you?
It's good but again, like praising you is something else, but it's good, always good. But if you hear good things about what you're doing, end of the day, right, it feels good.
Yeah. And some of these companies must come back to you and say, hey, thank you.
Yeah, they do. And not just companies, a lot of talent, because companies becomes, who is a company? Company is a collection of individuals, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these individuals do come by and sort of say that you did a great job, and then when they move to the next company, they again refer us, and sort of that's how it plays out.
It's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
There's people I suppose there's people all over the world that are doing that with you, right?
Yeah,
now.
so a lot of our customers sort of have come from outside India because of that, because some of these guys actually moved to different countries, and when they move to a new country, say these guys have done a good job with us in the past, would like to work with them again. So
I saw you earlier because you were talking with Don about your biggest competitor now being the Philippines. Don's from the Philippines, and I saw you very proud about what your achievements with India is. It's pretty impressive, but you've now got competition that's coming up. Well, it's like how difficult is it to keep on inventing yourself, keep on competing? It must be difficult.
I think it is not just between the countries or companies, or I see competition has to be with yourself, right? So if you are improving as an individual, company is a collection of individuals, so company improves. A group of companies will build up a nation, right? Or an ecosystem, right? So it starts with the individual, simple as that. And that inherent curiosity to learn, like, right, what's happening? For example, now the Gen AI wave is coming, right? Are we unlearning what we have learned, and are we looking at this new? Do we have an AI first mindset right now? Are we challenging everything that we have done till date? Is the question. Be it for a company, be it for an individual, how do I sort of integrate these new LLMs that are coming in my life, and sort of how do I sort of put that and sort of challenge everything that I do and start again, refresh. So unlearning more than learning, right? What you said, right, is the critical part of how do you unlearn what you have learned and sort of disrupt yourself first, and then go back. I mean, that keeps your brain also sharp, right? I've read somewhere, right? If you're sort of learning a new skill, yet this remains sharp.
I think it's crazy. I think, but you've got to, because that's and as an entrepreneur and somebody that wants to do well, you're very much self-critical first. You're always looking at yourself and seeing and justifying to yourself, did you have a great day today? Did you put all the effort in? Did you pull it off today? Did you make it work? Because everybody's counting on you, and that's what you look as an entrepreneur. You've got to, otherwise it just won't be worth it.
Right, you sort of got to believe in yourself always.
Yeah, always.
Right? And think that you have the capabilities to sort of do that, but you need to have that mindset every day. Okay, what's the new thing coming up? Like, let me look at it.
What is the startup ecosystem like in India?
In terms of numbers, it's the second largest after Bay Area, right? So,
but it must
in
be
Bangalore,
competitive. It's
competitive. It's healthy, and you have a very different energy when you go to the ecosystem, right? So everybody's trying to do something. You sit in a cafe, people are always talking about, I'm starting this, I'm starting that. You are walking on a road, you're probably overhearing some talk about someone raising or something like that. So the ecosystem is very vibrant. People are sort of full of energy, a lot of youth. Right, so it's crazy. Like, you will sort of enjoy the energy that's there.
The different generations. It must be the older generation and looking up to you guys and saying, "Come on, what are you doing?"
So India has space for everyone. We have so many cultures living together, right? So we can have different generations also living together, right? So yes, different generations are there. I do sense a FOMO that. FOMOs, I would say, agree that they didn't sort of do a lot of stuff at their age, like, and sort of the next generation guys are sort of killing it. But again, they are sort of acting as mentors, and sort of they have been, because if they hadn't done the hard work, which was done in 90s and 2000s of sort of building the IT industry in India, none of this would have happened. It's an effect that has happened because you had these large companies, Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindras, and all of these who set up the ecosystem for the next generation to play, and that's how it's in life.
Okay, so I know why you're here in Qatar. You're in Qatar right now.
Yes.
Why are you here for?
Yeah. So what we've seen in India, this thing is how can we sort of replicate that, and that sort of makes it a win-win for both the ecosystems. One, in India we have a lot of talent available who sort of is looking at global exposure, not just in terms of, I would say, projects, but also in terms of cultures, understanding, and experience in different. They on the other side, we see Qatar is sort of coming to terms, and they're sort of now understanding the value of. And I read their Vision 2030, and sort of it has a lot of mention about the talent economy that they want to build. So I see a lot of synergy because there is an ecosystem that has sort of done that in the last 10, 15 years here in India, and there's a system that really wants to do that. And has so much respect in the world, and you have a lot of expats also, right, and a lot of Indian population as well, right? So if we can sort of connect both of these ecosystem, we can sort of make it a win-win for the companies in India, the talent in India, and also the upcoming sector or segment in Qatar, where people just sort of want to build the next big thing here.
Yeah. And we were discussing also earlier, you've got 60 meetings organized in different events that
Yes.
you've been involved in.
Yes.
You've done 30 now.
Yes.
What's your impression of this of that
So
ecosystem?
one thing that we understood, and I understood, was obviously the ecosystem is sort of very early, very nascent. This is something where India was around 2008, 2009 kind of vibes. But again, Qatar has the will to sort of do it, right? And they know we can make it happen. We can able to attract talent. So they know where their strength is. And they sort of want, and they have a push. The more important thing is they have the push from the higher authorities and from the government to sort of accelerate. Like if you have QFC now, you have QRDI, QSTP, and in these organizations which are driving this at a government level. So when you have backing of a government and sort of conviction to sort of do that, you see a lot of things happening. And that's what I've realized, because after meeting so many people, they want to do it and they're figuring it out.
They're that next. We're talking about the generations in India, but they're kind of, they've got no fear. There isn't anything if they don't. The only fear is not putting your mind at it, right? It's not being able to believe that you can do it, because whatever they believe they can do, they'll pull it off. They'll make it happen, and that's the somebody saying to me earlier on was saying the ecosystem is growing so quickly here. It's everybody. It who knows where it's going? Who knows? We can all see the capabilities, but with people like you coming here and so many other people coming here, this thing's going to be crazy soon. It's going to be there's going to be tech companies. There's going to be every industry is going to benefit from this.
100%. And the thing with this is, like, if you see all of these, so Qatar has a very, very calmness to it, right? So the infrastructure is pretty good, like the best infrastructures in the world, right? Been to Riyadh, been to Dubai, but the calmness that you get, so you have a great infrastructure, you have the capital, you have the money. The only thing that you need is sort of now the next generation of talent to come in and sort of start building here.
Yeah, knowledge sharing,
and that'll happen. That'll happen.
It's happening.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
it's happening as we talk.
It's
also,
happening.
Right.
Okay, so it's happening, but look at what we've been thrown now is AI.
Correct.
How are you dealing with that? How does that fit into your model?
So I personally sort of after, like, when I was a developer and sort of been running Recro, I was off the charts with the new tech that was coming in. But with AI, sort of, I've gone back to learning board. I make sure that at least 30 minutes to 1 hour I am sort of devoting to understanding how LLMs operate, how the evolution is happening, what's the new models coming, how they are sort of going to impact us. So with AI coming in, everybody has to become a student. Everybody, right? It doesn't matter what age you are, and it's good for your brain if you're learning something new. So don't have that inhibition that, okay, I have to now study and all of that. That's the best thing that you can do to your brain, right? You put it into a new learning and new skill, and exciting. You enjoy it. Why? Don't see this as a threat, because I don't feel the learning curve is that big in AI. The learning curve has reduced. In fact, AI helps you to learn itself, right? So use AI to learn AI, right?
Yeah.
So then it's an enjoyable journey, because the way we used to learn earlier is sort of changed. It's become much easier now, and you enjoy doing this, and if you're curious enough, because the curious one is the one who will survive.
But we all thought, and I say this all the time, we all thought we were cheating if we were using it.
No, that's wrong.
Wrong.
So I'll tell you an example here. Post AI, we get a lot of assignments. People use ChatGPT and give you a blurb, like you need a precise answer, they'll give you 3-page answers. We'll find that we don't penalize anyone for using ChatGPT at our work. And I was talking to one of my mentors on how to address this issue. That everybody's sort of now using an assignment like that's coming out from ChatGPT. It's not their brains, ChatGPT's. But then we said, okay, we asked these guys to come to the office. And then we say, okay, explain why have you said this? Right. And then justify. Okay, if you mentioned this, why did you mention this at number 1? Why this was number 2? Why this was prioritized like this? The good ones are able to sort of justify that. And the rest are they're not sort of able to sort of, because ChatGPT can sort of give you a framework, but it can't build clarity in your head that you need to do the homework.
Oh,
right? So,
and that's clarity in your head, because
Yes.
you've got to have it in there. You've got to. The one thing that helps me with ChatGPT, because I use it on a regular basis, but I'll try and do this stuff myself. So I'll try to put something together, or I'll try to give clear direction. That has an advantage for me because I'm trying to get something clear back, and also it helps me for the clarity when I'm dealing with the staff. So it's not that I'm doing the same thing to the staff. It's just that I want to be more clear when I'm instructing somebody to do things. So that's what ChatGPT is doing for me, because what I put in is what I get out. So I look at those, and the relief that I get with ChatGPT is when I put it in there, and it's not very professional. It's not great English, even though I'm from England. It's not that great. But when all of a sudden you press submit, you get this coming back to you. But the way that it puts it, it's kind of, yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. And you read it several times because you want to learn it. And then if somebody does ask you to kind of, it's you. It's just that somebody's helped you put it in a more refined way and a better,
correct.
Sometimes a better way of expressing it.
So what essentially you're saying is AI is helping you express better. So it's
educate.
helping humans express themselves better, which was earlier a hindrance because of the language or because of the mechanisms that we had earlier to express ourselves. And this sort of empowers, right? So it's like what we're talking about now. Like AI is sort of empowering people to express themselves better.
But I'm kind of, I remember my sons, they would all go to there and do, if they didn't know the answer to a question, they'd go to Google. But now I've got my iPad. I can just talk into the iPad.
Yes.
It turns it into text.
With GPT-4, you can sort of even have a personal assistant as a teacher. Like if you seen the video.
I saw.
Right. So with OpenAI and Google
out?
models coming in, right? New
Oh my word.
Voice models, right? So amazing. So that you can sort of have a teacher who will sort of at your pace, talk to you in your language, teach you step by step.
A conversation.
Everything. A conversational AI. That's the next big thing.
Because there are some things that you pick up in a conversation
Yes.
that's always installed into your mind. It's like writing something, repeating something down, that it goes into your mind. But if you've had conversations, it helps even more.
Correct. It does.
I'm fascinated by the whole thing. What did you I asked you what you thought about the whole ecosystem here. Can you see yourself coming here soon?
100%. I am coming right now it was every quarter. I think I will need to increase my frequency pretty fine. And we're sort of looking to establish here as well. So
that's great news for Qatar, because it's kind of having that. I love the story about knowledge sharing. I love the kind of somebody teaching somebody how to do things better or improving something to a certain degree. I think that's it's so good for society, and I'm looking forward to you coming.
that's what I'll be here very soon.
You're a fascinating guy, and I'm going to get you back on the podcast, because there's going to be different subjects that we're going to talk about. I'm absolutely convinced with this. I want to ask another question, and I ask every guest. What lesson would you tell, or what would you tell to your 15-year-old self? What you've learned?
I would say build self-awareness. Understand what are your strengths. Don't play in every direction. Play to your strengths. Find what is your strength. I think that 15-year-olds, the biggest problem is we don't know what our strength is. One lesson would be to find your strength. First, find your strengths. And if you're able to find your strength, everything else will sort of fall in place.
Yeah. Great one. I like that. I really like that. And one last question. What advice would you give to a startup that's just embarking out on their journey?
So it's the same thing. Focus on one thing in the beginning. Don't try to spread yourself too thin. Don't try to sort of do 10 things and do nothing good. Take one thing, pick it up, go in depth, solve it so well that none of the people can sort of come near that, and then go and pick up the next problem. But just in the beginning, because your resources are limited, your team is limited, your capital is limited, your mental bandwidth is limited, your experience is limited at this point of time, go and solve one problem. Don't pick up 10 things. Focus is the key to success initially.
Oh, great advice. And how important it's, because everybody's looking for finance, right? Raising finance. How important is it sometimes just to have a customer?
Just to have a customer is important. Is always important. We are bootstrapped. We're bootstrapped for, like, since we started, we have never raised. So the best money decides customers' money, right? So yeah, there are certain businesses that also depends on what business are we talking about. But generally try to sort of build self-sustainable business. Because my last startup wasn't a one, and sort of learned it the hard way. So if you sort of make customer your investor, right? So that always sort of gives you a lot of confidence. So when you go to the investors, you go to on your own terms, not on their terms.
That's brilliant. That is unbelievable advice. Unbelievable. So we're here in Workington. What, impressed?
Completely blown off the amount of effort these team is putting up. I was in another event, Scale Up Qatar, a couple of days back. And again, I see this now. I've seen them super active across all the events and providing such a platform, such a tremendous setup, right? To hold these conversations together. I think they're doing some serious work in building the community. They are in true sense empowering, right? And they're sort of building the ecosystem here. They're going to play a very, very critical role in sort of shaping this up because they're getting the right people in.
Yeah.
Like
no, they are doing wonders, and I thank them for working with this, because the guys behind the camera and the doing the sound, oh my word, they are perfect. I've got to thank you. Sure. I've got to thank you from the bottom of my heart to come in today. I know that your schedule, I know that you've got another 30 meetings to fit in before you go back. So I really do appreciate you coming in to spend some time with me. I hope I'm going to be one of your partners that is here in Qatar, because I think that who you are and what you've achieved is exceptional. And I wish that this friendship will go on for the rest of my life, that's for sure. So thank you so much for sharing with us on the
Thanks
podcast.
a lot, Steve. I think, as I said, like, you've been one of the best person that I've met here. Most friendly, warm is the word. I'd say warm is the word. Like, you make people feel home here. And it does seem a second home here in Doha now.
You're so kind. What I want you to have gained from this story today, okay? There were some such valuable stories, okay? But it ultimately comes down to one of those things. The most important one for me is you've got to do something that you love. You love. Find that and work to your strengths, okay? Work to your strengths, because sometimes that's all you've got, and you've got to stand out above everybody else and just as he says, work on one thing. Work on yourself. Make yourself a better person. Make yourself so unstoppable, okay? And you can do that just by making sure that you love what you do and you will accept no excuses. This man is exactly that. He never accepted any excuses. He kept on powering forward, and look at him now. 400, 1,000 people that's working for you, and you could be the same. So thank you so much for listening this week, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for the invite.